Hello. Namaste to all of you. Good to see you. Happy Sunday. So let's just begin by closing our eyes and we'll sit upright and keep our palms face up. And let's just breathe together for a little bit. Just settle your whole entire awareness into the heart. Breathe in and out of the heart, relaxing into it every breath. Allow your whole being, your whole heart to feel and experience whatever's there. Let's just bring both our hands on our heart. And let's just soften the heart in gratitude. And just let your whole heart connect with the sacred, the divine. Ask that presence to surround you, to surround this class, and to help us. You just slowly lower your hands and open your eyes. So, very good to see all of you. And you can hear me okay, right? Cool. So, if I can sum up in this moment, at least, what the spiritual journey is, I would say it's a total discovery or rediscovery of finding love in your heart. When the heart feels a state of love, when it feels a state of wholeness and a general sense of being connected, you're just very, very naturally guided by life itself. You don't question what is God or is there God, and you you feel you feel grace. You feel the essence and the life of the universe. The problem that we're facing, and as humanity, is that the mind's overactivity has shut down our ability to experience each moment in the heart. So we're actually not present or able to be present to allow the heart to actually feel and experience the moment at hand. And that inability to experience keeps us out of alignment with all of life. And there's a great discontent to life when the heart isn't experiencing. And so the heart is shut down in a kind of resistance. And there's a great discontent in that resistance. And so the mind, because of this discontent, the mind is trying to somehow solve it. It's saying, I'm not happy because I haven't found the person to love yet. I'm not happy because I'm scared of my financial situation. I'm not happy because of this. And it's running around life trying to have an experience to somehow find happiness. It finds pleasure, which it is fooled, thinking more of it will be a finality or a solution, but it doesn't find its happiness. This is quite an irony, because the very activity of the mind is creating its own unhappiness. It's the very discontent is only from the mind, and the mind is trying to continue itself and still seek an end to the discontent. So in this place, the mind asks a lot of questions, which is there a God? If there is a God, why doesn't it show up in my life? Is there grace? Is there miracles? Is it real? Is it every question the mind takes? But there's a unique phenomenon that happens when we take the journey of learning to just live in the heart. And what's so beautiful about it is, as we actually start getting in touch with the heart, as the heart, because we're being present, starts softening out of its resistance. So out of resistance comes experiencing. The very discontent starts falling off. And so do all those fundamental questions about life. So you could say that it's not that you have the answers to anything. It is just that as the heart opens, you're so directly experiencing reality, there is a natural understanding of all things. So in one sense, the journey that we're on in this course is a journey of restoring the ability to be present and feel in the heart. Because as the heart opens more and more, you experience the beingness of life. you clearly come into this place where you see that you are and you exist on a fundamental level, way beyond the mind, way beyond the body. And that experiencing, that beingness in you, that softening into the true nature of yourself, immediately shows you the oneness of all of life. And it's from this place that you experience your essence at the same time you know it's also the divine essence. So the journey of self-healing we've gone on, and the journey of hopefully understanding a little bit about sacredness and the heart opening to it, it's all in hopes that the heart, learning to trust the heart feeling. When the heart is not resisting and feeling, beingness is naturally there. And that beingness, that experiencing, literally disempowers the mind. It literally makes story and the belief in the mind and the security of the mind all just naturally ease up to where you let go into life. You let go into every moment. So this course, we're going to be now diving very deeply into grace and the divine and sharing very powerful principles to the whole thing. But I would love to just hear how you're doing and what's going on with you. And I'd just like to hear from you and any questions you may have. So please feel free to share and let us connect for a little bit. And then we'll take a really beautiful step forward today. Hey, Cindy.
Hi. Hi, everyone. You know, how am I doing today? It is so tricky. I am not doing well today. I can feel it. Like my husband is here. He just got here yesterday, and it's incredible. You know, we're going to spend the time together in that, you know, everybody else will pull for him for his time, you know. And I have the class today, and I got that I could have listened to it. And it's so challenging for me to be like, I wanted him to come home and want to spend time and create a plan because I listened to it for so much. You know what I mean? I want to spend the time just with you, blah, 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 blah. And nothing's created for the two of us. It's with the kids and the baby and all of that type of stuff. And he went off and did his way. And here I am. And it feels yucky, you know. And 35 anniversary is going to be 36 years this year. And I just wanted to come home and really have missed me or really loved me or really something. The mind I just wanted that. It's not there. And there's all these reasons, excuses, and justifications. And it's like, to feel all of that, to feel where else did that show up in my childhood? Where did that fall out? It's really sad. And it's really sad.
Yeah.
And I push it down and push it down and push it down. And then my family judges me. Oh, there goes mom again. It's mom's fault. Everything's mom's fault, you know? So just thanks for the space to share it. And I'm glad I showed up today. And it's just yucky.
I hear you.
Just yucky.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to, I know you're not asking a question, but I'll just share one small thing. I have found that every time I've made it a choice to actually experience the very extreme moments like this, where you're utterly disappointed, things did not show up the way they would, the hopes that you had certain things to be one way, it goes the opposite. That absolute pain that makes every sense in the world to bury it down for one reason or another. Every time I've just made the choice, I'm just going to absolutely allow this pain to be here, and I'm going to process it the absolute best I can just for myself. Every time I've made that choice, as painful of a process as that is to go through, the outcome has been nothing less than extraordinary. And so my only suggestion is, for your own self, use this moment of all that's going on inside of you as a catalyst to get in touch with, or to fully experience, that absolute devastation inside, just as opposed to trying to avoid it, etc. A lot of things will come out of it. At least that's been my experience. So, hi, Diane.
How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Um, um, had an altercation this week with someone, and it's incredible to watch the mind rotate over everything. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, thought I should have done this. And when you're looking for grace in this situation, where you want to move from it being that continual tape recorder, how do you go? How do you do that? How do you do that? When you're ruminating all of this, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and go to a place that accepts it and loves yourself and doesn't keep blaming.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think a misconception I realize that I've had with myself, and it's just very easy, is you see the person teaching the class, or giving the advice, always with nice lighting, nice shirt, nice background, and on their game the best they can. So you just think this person's got it all handled. And the answer is no, nobody has got it all handled, period. And so what that means is it's a messy show. It's just, it's always hitting the fan. So for me, there's times I get so stung. There's times where I get so angry. There's times I cannot keep my cool. There's times I'm just a bear to be around. And the only thing that I have going for myself that doesn't bring a tremendous amount of misery to me is that I know it's okay. I just know to have compassion for the fact that I can't even begin to stay present, for the fact that whatever's working itself out of me, it is painful and I'm a rotten human being to be around. Or the fact that I'm so absolutely tired that I have just no sense of patience or compassion towards anything. So because for me, I'm not trying to get to a perfection of myself or trying to be a certain way to achieve something else. I've allowed myself to be fully embrace what is going on, even the inability to embrace what's going on. So for me, whatever is going on, I just know that's where the buck stops. It just stops there. That is what's going on, means nothing in the cosmic sense of things. It's just that this is happening. And the best I can be, allow it to happen. And that allowing, that understanding that whatever's going on is happening, and to allow it to happen, is where it is an intense experience, but it's not misery or suffering, or it's not disappointment of the concept of spiritual progress or trying to find peace. So for me, if I had to find peace, if I had to find a sense of freedom that I've found on my spiritual journey, it's freedom with what is happening. It's not freedom from it. It's just the complete acknowledgement. This is happening. Absolutely allow it. And that allowing it allows for life allows me to completely have compassion and understand what happens. So that's what I would say, is that we're, I think, as a species, and people who are really adamant about inner growth, our generations are the generations of healing inside. Like, our generations are the ones working through layers. These beautiful young children all coming in, hopefully we're going to have quite a launch pad to jump from in a good way, because of we're the generation that's healing the muck. And so we have to have tremendous compassion as another layer works out. I have layers working on me all the time. It's just that I have such confidence in the fact that if I allow it to happen, it does heal. And it is a very messy job, but it's so wonderful as the layer heals. So hopefully that's helpful. Hi, Linda.
Greetings.
Hello.
It's good to be here. This practice of invoking the sacred space in my own heart has been delightful. It's so simple. There's still resistance to sitting for 7 minutes, but
Totally.
the irony, the paradox that I
love it,
encounter
right?
all the time. So
That's being
and
Western.
the sense of beingness that manifests when I focus on the sacred space of my own heart, which, I don't even know what that is. It's like this willingness to discover it, the beingness that flows from that, or the sense of beingness. It seems to push a lever where life is just happening. There's a flow, and there's no forcing or pushing. There's appreciation. When it's pleasant, there's dismay when it's not, but there's a willingness to be with what is not pleasant and to inquire into it more deeply.
Yeah.
I have had so many teachers in this lifetime. I'm so grateful for the field that is created by your intention and Pema's in this Sacred Wisdom School. It really nurtures my soul. There's a great longing that is being fulfilled. So I just wanted to share that with you today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Hi, Donna. Oh, I muted you. You have to unmute yourself again. Sorry. You're good.
Hi, Doug, and
Good to see
everyone.
you.
Yeah, I really appreciate all that you do for us, with all these processes, but it's been really hard. I mean, I've taken several of your classes, and I, my sister's involved in this too. And so I don't remember this stuff coming up like this.
Yeah.
And there is a part of me that's grateful because what's there is there. And it's there to be looked at. I mean, I've just experienced a lot of anger because I guess I had I thought I dealt with a lot of this stuff, and it's just continual.
Yep.
And more stuff just keeps on coming. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't even begin to describe, I don't want to take up everybody's time here, but my friendships are ending. everybody's just going away, and it's not what I did to them or anything. And so I'm just terribly lonely. And so that's just causing a lot of grief to show up. And I'm just intensely, and then I'm trying to work and take care of I have a special needs sister who's in a rehabilitation center. She broke her hip in May, and she's progressing in that area, but there's something going on. It's done a number on her brain. She's not who she is. I mean, I don't know what's going on, and it's driving me crazy. I just keep reacting to her, and I don't feel like I help her when I go visit her. I mean, I love her, and then I'm just like, what is wrong with me? That I just keep getting triggered. But I don't know what I want to say. I just, I'm doing the 74,000. I'm doing the 3-day process. I'm doing so many damn processes, I mean, I'm really here to change my mind. I mean, I'm suffering,
Yeah.
I want to enlighten, not so I could be some spiritual being, but so I could have some freedom for my mind. I mean, I'm beginning to wonder if I'm ADD, if I need, medication. I'm depressed. There was my oneness group, was having a potluck last night, and it's called Summer of Love, and we were going to do some dancing and maybe a little bit of kirtan. And I usually love that. And it was like, no freaking way do I want to go. I am not in a celebratory mood.
Yeah.
And I don't want to act like I'm in a celebratory mood. I'm not. I'm angry, I'm sad, and I just don't want to be around a bunch of people who are happy. Anyway, and I gave myself permission to do that. Thanks to my sister. She just said, well, honey, don't go. But I have so much pressure on myself, Doc. I just beat myself up endlessly. I made a new friend at this job I'm at. And we met this week for coffee, and I'm like a little kid. I'm so happy I have someone. So we were supposed to have some lunch together. And, she canceled because she's a caregiver for her dad. And I was okay with it. I'm happy. I've eaten by myself before in a restaurant. I'll be fine. I go in there, and it's the same place I used to go with a friend who's now moved, to your neck of the woods. And we used to hang out on 4th Street and do yoga, do all the stuff. So I just start, and then songs on the radio while I'm eating, and I start sobbing. I'm not saying that my just tears welled up. I am really crying. And the waiter comes, he goes, ma'am, are you okay? I go, yeah, it's not the food. I go, I'm just so sad. He must have thought I was crazy. I couldn't wait to get out of there so I could go process this heaviness. But that's the kind of days I've been having. And in oneness they say seeing is freeing. Well, shit, I'm seeing a lot of stuff. And I don't feel any freeing. No freeing. Yeah, I get in touch with it. I feel it. I feel a little peace that calms me down for a while till the next wave hits. So I don't know, maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I just love it. It's just like I myself was so confused on the spiritual journey, and I had no one to talk to. And it's just so funny because every time you all share something, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. It's so crazy. So that's the journey. It's right there. This is the middle part of the entire spiritual journey. The first part is just the mind getting all the candy in the candy store and proclaiming its own enlightenment. Then one fine day, your mind gets tired, you start getting real aware of what's actually happening inside of you, and you're actually kind of upset. You're like, I'm done with spirituality. I'm done with a path. I'm not enlightened. I'm in pain. I don't know how to come out of this. It seems to only be getting worse. My relationships are all questionable. My whole reality is all questionable. What is happening? So this is where a lot of people waste a lot of time, because you start managing that. You start doing anything you can to avoid that, all while holding the weight of what you call spiritual merit. I've been on the path for like 10 years. So like, I must be somewhere. It's just something I'm going through, as opposed to collapsing everything and saying, this is what's going on. So just so you know, for myself at least, maybe the only difference between you and I would be that I have succumbed to what is going on. So I don't see what is going on as a problem, as a block in my journey, or something is wrong with me. I actually see that whatever is going on is the actual journey itself. And the journey is endless. So there's no place to get to. So for me, anything that works out, like you'll say, I'm feeling very isolated, very vulnerable, very lonely. So if that was coming through me, the way my mind perceives it, the way I understand it to be is, wow, look at this layer of uncomfortableness that is asking to be felt fully. So I always see that anything that feels uncomfortable is a layer in the process of working itself out. And my responsibility is to actually allow myself to have that experience. So now we're going to have the experience of deep-seated loneliness and confusion. And it may lead to a lot of crying. It may lead to everything or anything. But I'm not going to retreat from this. I'm not going to manage it. And I'm not going to blame it on circumstances that if those things change, this will change. So for me at least, I have no more path I'm on. I don't link each moment to my progress to get someplace else. For me, what is going on is complete. This layer is coming up. This is my whole universe. It means nothing, but it is an experience happening. I'm not analyzing it and trying to compare it to understand it. I'm not having an expectation of when it should leave. I just know if I resist this, if I move away from it into story, it is absolute misery, and it will keep being there. It's dirt under a rug. So for me, I just know the great freedom to see is to be free, as you had mentioned, seeing is freedom. To see to be free means when you absolutely realize there is no place else to go other than the experience at hand. That's why freedom is not about trying to get free from something. Freedom is when you're not trying to get free from something. It's when the struggle of why is that there? And if it ends, I'll then be free, disappears. That's why, although it may not be understood at this stage, it's very difficult until it happens. But literally, the mind breaks at a certain point. There's like a kind of death that takes place, a death of trying to be free, a death of the struggle to let the heart experience. You just realize all there actually is in reality is here and now, and the full raw experience of what is happening. So all I can say is it's perfect what is going on inside of you. but you always have a choice to unconsciously struggle with it and wait for it to somehow disappear, or to consciously, with breath, soften and have the raw experience. And if you go that second route, that is awakening. Awakening leads you completely to here, now, and being completely vulnerable of experiencing what is there. And you only see that whatever's uncomfortable, when experienced fully, heals and transforms and is a part of the ongoing process of your journey of growth. So hopefully that's helpful for you. It's a no joke job. Hey, Charlotte, good to see you. You'll have to unmute.
Hi. I'm just more of the same. I, after spending months in the hospital, and then, still being in pain, I can't avoid this anger at God. I hate God, and I haven't gone through this kind of feeling in such a very long time. And I don't see how you can get to grace if you're angry at God.
Let's talk about that. It's a perfect thing, because today is completely about the relationship with the divine. So the reality of it, in a sense, is that, as we'll talk about today in detail, is that there's not on any level the idea that there's a God who judges you for whatever state of being you're in. That's just the way the mind operates and conditioning from our society because of the mind. What's being asked of anybody who wants to heal, what's being asked of it, is to give yourself permission to allow yourself to have the experience of anger fully, to allow yourself to be consciously angry at your divine, to allow yourself to work through that process of being absolutely raw with yourself, to communicate in your heart to the whole universe how you actually feel. Where we get stuck is if we have a concept that we should not be angry, or we don't allow ourselves the opportunity to express that anger fully. That's actually, I would have to say, the problem with humanity is that we don't allow ourselves to go through the experience fully. And that stops it and gets it stuck in us, because if it's not being expressed because we have a concept we shouldn't, or that this is not spiritual, or this is something that is an unwanted emotion or experience, that's where the mind's shutting it all down. So for me, at least, I had tremendous anger at God. And it was only when I actually just went and spent time and went through a very, very raw and very intense journey of screaming and yelling and allowing the rage and anger to come up, because I had blamed unconsciously God for taking away the person who raised me like a mother. So it was only me allowing myself to go there fully in all of its rawness, with the understanding that there's no separate God who is judging you if you are angry at it or not. Only then did all that anger heal. And that's the permission that I found for myself I have to give myself to heal. I have to embrace the fact that I'm filled with rage. I have to embrace the fact that I'm gripped by fear. I have to first recognize it's there, but then say, it's okay. And let's allow ourselves to have that experience fully. And that allows the process to go. So grace is always there, whether you want it or not. Grace and God is literally like the ocean, and you're the fish. There's no place that you're not coming face to face with God itself, actually. So there's only the misperception of reality, fueled by society's conditionings and fueled by hurts and pains that haven't healed, that give you this experience that you are separate from or cut off from grace or God. But as you commit yourself to self-acceptance, accepting what is there and allowing yourself to have that experience fully, as all these things just slowly heal, it is just like a simple veil that falls off. And you just laugh. How did I miss this the whole time? I can't believe it. It's been right in front of me. And you've restored to your natural state. So that's my only suggestion is allow yourself the time. Put yourself in a process to just absolutely go for it with all of your anger. Scream and yell and kick into a pillow and do it multiple times. Consciously, not as a victim, but consciously, to allow the layers to work themselves through. I've done that so many times and it was extremely helpful. Maybe it'll be helpful for you. So, hi, Sonia.
Hey, I just wanted to follow up. I felt called to share because of what Charlotte just shared, that I also had a lot of rage and hatred towards God. And I remember one time, I wasn't fully aware of it. The first time kind of Jesus showed up, I was standing in the bread section at Whole Foods.
Nice.
And he basically said, he's inviting me to feel my rage towards him. And I just was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you didn't do anything to me. It just didn't make any sense at the time. But recently, I don't know, maybe a few months ago, I felt like the divine was helping me to experience my rage and hatred towards God. And I literally, I feel called to direct this to you, Charlotte. I was literally seeing myself like kill God. Like I was in my imagination. I was literally like a homicidal maniac and I went after God. And I could just feel like the divine inviting me just to let it all out. And I had a huge breakthrough because I was like murderous rage. And then all of a sudden I just started bawling. And I realized for me, it was like, I don't know why I internalized this, but I felt like God thinks I'm evil and wants me destroyed. And so I was just like fucking angry at God. Like, I fucking hate you. You want me dead. Anyway, I felt called to share that, especially with you, Charlotte. So maybe you feel a little safer in your rage. Thank you.
That was awesome. All right. So let's take our journey forward. First of all, thank you all so much for sharing. So let me mute this real quick. There is a stage in spiritual growth that will be very common as it happens. And I feel maybe I should talk about this stage and then from that, talk about what we'll focus on. Because I feel if you don't know about this stage, then what we're going to talk about could almost be kind of confusing on one level. There's a stage that happens, and it will start happening a lot, and it may have already happened a lot, where you have a moment, a glimpse. It's just where like it could last for a second, could last for several minutes, could last longer. And it's where you're in a space of no story. You're in a space where the mind just let up. And in that space, there's no question to anything. There's no struggle with anything. There's no fight to anything. There's no meaning to anything. There is just a simple state of silent beingness. Let's just say you're in that state. And I ask you, well, who are you? In that moment, if it's profound enough or deep enough of a state, you'll simply say, I am just beingness itself. I'm just the silence itself. And if I say, who's God? You may very well say, it is that beingness. It is that silence. And if I say, well, where is God? You may say, where isn't God? Then let us say that state fades away. As that state fades away, personalities are back. And that's very important to understand, is that if you're looking closely inside yourself, you're just a flow of personalities. There's a personality that wants to start working out, but as soon as the body gets hungry, there's a personality that wants to eat chocolate cake. There's tons of opposing personalities. And there's a personality that's very philosophical. And there's a personality who's a crook. The more and more we realize that the sense of feeling separate from life, the sense of who we think we are, the word think should be all capital, is just a flow of thoughts. And these flow of thoughts have different streams they're flowing, called personalities. The more and more separate you feel, the more you're filled with hurt and pain that is unhealed, tends to be the more active the mind is trying to manage that hurt or pain. Just doesn't know the process of self-healing, as we're learning. So when you see somebody very bitter at life, very damaged inside, their mind reels. They feel so disconnected from life. And a lot of time, people like that will be very strong atheists. They just will. They'll be either deeply, unconsciously, or consciously angry at God, A, or they'll be so disconnected in their heart that they throw off the idea that how could there be any God? Because if there was a God, why isn't it in my life? Why isn't it showing up? Then comes the spiritual journey. As we're trucking along on the spiritual journey, we start healing the heart. As layer after layer heals, it just feels comfortable to become more and more present, more and more state of beingness, more and more softening. The mind starts slowing down slowly, 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 because what the mind was reeling to manage is now being healed. So the mind doesn't need to manage. And the mind now understands the softening out of resistance, the beingness in the heart was everything you were searching for. So there's this attempt to now go in that direction, which I think all of us are heading to. This is where auspicious personalities start happening. There's a personality of sacredness that starts arising, personality of gratitude, a personality of spirituality. It starts really seeing hope for itself, salvation. You say, wow, it's all working. I'm feeling lighter every day. This is great. These are very auspicious personalities. These personalities, which you may perceive as just you, but they are personalities. These personalities have a very deep heart to have a relationship with God. And this is where God starts becoming something that you start relating to in one way or another, one form or formless, name or nameless. So your whole heart starts literally, these personalities start literally relating to this God. Now, the beauty of this, the beauty of time and space, the beauty of consciousness is that in whatever way your heart relates to the infinite, to the unknowable, to that which silently sees, in whatever way these personalities relate, life itself literally takes on a relationship to relate back. And that's very, very important to understand. Because for me, at least, a lot of times throughout the day, I can't experience myself being separate from anything. It makes no sense to have any form of relationship into anything separate, because there's just the experiencing of that oneness. And in a moment's notice, the mind will come in, a personality will come in. And if I need something or I want something, or there's a struggle with something, this personality will start taking a very strong prayer to the God, to the divine that it's so madly in love with. And I find that very, very beautiful, because in that moment, I am praying to the infinite. In the next moment, the experience is the only thing that's there is the infinite. And why I wanted to explain this is because there's great confusion about relating to God or having a personal sense of connection to God, when as you grow more and more, you see that there's who are you praying to? What are you praying to? And the invitation to this is to very beautifully allow both to happen. Allow yourself to know that when a beautiful personality comes up and it strikes a sense of love and a sense of prayer towards life, towards the infinite, towards whatever God is to you, towards Jesus, towards Buddha, towards the white light, that this is a very sacred moment, that every part of your being is communicating to the supreme intelligence of all of life. And that it's perfectly okay in the next moment for that very expression to dissolve and for you to feel at one with everything. And it's also okay in a moment where you get deeply hurt or a layer is working itself out, for another personality to come in saying, there is no God, I'm making it up in my mind, there's nothing sacred, life is like this, life is like that. Because the journey of growth is allowing with compassion personalities to rise and cease, but with compassion, with awareness to see, I see why this one has that perception. It is so hurt. I see why this one is so madly in love with God. It's having such an experience right now. And then in between both, there might just be a break of sheer silence and the absolute experience of that you, God, and life, so simply, so naturally, are the silent experience, are the one. So we're going to talk a little bit about some principles to help us become free of the idea that there's a separate God, that there's a judgmental God, that God is somehow at a distance or somehow not listening. Because these are all things we struggle with so deeply. The beauty of the divine, the great gift of life, in my opinion, is that there will never be and has never been a moment that has not been directly experienced and directly is the divine itself. That forever, the moment you're in, the very fabric of time and space, the very fabric of every layer of your being is actually the divine itself. That every moment forever that you're in is the actual experience of all of the intelligence of life itself. That the great awakening, the great sacredness of life is when you realize it's not that you're growing closer to God. It's not that one day you'll be at the feet of God. The great gift of God is that every aspect, every being, every particle is it. And that's the marvel of it. You get to sit in awe, knowing the great gift of God is I am yet another experience of it, going through a great mystery of time and space. And the road to discovering all of that, the road to experiencing all of that, the great joy of life is allowing ourselves to let go into the seat of beingness in the heart. It's allowing ourselves to sit in the heart and let go of control, to let go of trying to understand, to let go of what will happen next, and to just marvel in the great mystery of happening. So it's impossible, like I said earlier, it's impossible for there to be a God who is judgmental. For every experience has always been and can only be it having an experience of self-discovery. The worst of the worst experiences, the most profound. And that may bring up a point. Okay, well, why is there murders that happen? Why are bad things happening? And it actually always boils down to something very fascinating. That in order to have the experience of time and space, in order to have a three-dimensional experience, the opposite has to be there. So consciousness is literally a play of opposites equally upholding the yin and the yang. So where the hot summer comes, the cold winter comes. Where the light shines, the cycle comes and the darkness will be there. Where there's fear, there's love. Where there's hurt and pain, there's healing and freedom. The great journey is seeing the opposites within us per se, and accepting each one to where you don't see anything as opposite anymore. You see everything as whole and complete, flowing with life. So grace is allowing ourselves to be more and more present to where the heart isn't fighting an opposite with itself. The mind isn't dividing reality, and we're struggling with what is there. As we settle into our hearts, we start settling into, once again, the connectedness of all things. And the divisive nature of the mind falls away in that moment. And we are in the flow, the rhythm. We're once again synced up with the natural harmony of all of life. So as our hearts flower more and more, you can't talk a person out of the fact that it's not that there is a God. It is that the heart opens and you realize everything is it. Everything has always been it. It is not that God is a concept. It is that feeling separate was a concept. So that's why I always tell people, it's not that you are awakening to discover the reality of some God. It's not that you are awakening to discover, oh, there's God. It's actually God is awakening to discover the reality of itself. Your awakening, your whole journey of calling yourself some name, running around thinking you're the past, running around thinking you're the personalities, having some big story, to finally all of that being seen through, to finally you sitting in the discovery that I am not an individual, I am the essence of life itself, finally realizing the oneness of all life, finally realizing you, God, and life are one, was actually just another beautiful journey of God awakening to discover itself. So this entire journey of grace is complete freedom. It's freedom to allow the hurt personalities to be angry at God, the hurt personalities to yell out to God to help, the auspicious personalities of sacredness and gratitude to be in awe of the divine, and in other moments, no personality in the sheer experience of the truth that you, life, and God are one, the silence of all. So our journey this week is a journey of allowing yourself to have freedom to relate to God, to the divine, the sacred, whatever you want to call it, in your own personal way. God should be personal. The divine should be like a best friend that could never judge and that has sheer power to help in any way. I was once on an airplane, and I'll take a long story, make it very short, but a woman passed away. As she passed away, she was very old, and her daughter was there, and her daughter was utterly devastated. And there was about 12 hours left on the airplane. And she was going into shock, the daughter, as her mother was passed away. Nobody knew anything to do, what to do. I was so hurt and devastated how traumatic for the next 10 hours this person has to be with their mother who passed away, that my whole heart ached. There's nothing I could do. I don't know, nothing anyone could do. Everyone just stood around knowing there's nothing we can do. But it occurred to me in that moment that I can ask my divine to do something about it, because my journey has been a path of very deep miracles. So I went to my seat, and with my whole entire heart, with everything inside my heart, I demanded God, life, the divine, the infinite. I demanded it with my heart to come right here, right now, bring this lady back to life and let her die peacefully in a hospital with her family around 2 or 3 days later. And as that automatic prayer happened, something beyond my control, as my heart prayed to my divine, to the personality that just demanded, I literally felt something so tangible. I literally felt a massive, massive vortex of energy suddenly arrive on the plane and walk past me down the aisle. Something so insanely tangible that it was shocking. And as that presence went past me all the way to the back, immediately everyone fell silent. So all the crying, all the silence, everything stopped. About 10 minutes later, when I was able to move again, because the prayer was so strong, it made me go into something called samadhi. I couldn't move actually. As I was able to move my body again, come out of prayer, I walked back there. As I walked back there, the woman was back alive. And she walked off the plane. She probably died 2 days later. I don't know. But the point was, it was such an interesting thing to see the power the heart has when prayer happens. Prayer, powerful prayers happen very automatically. That's why people say, can you pray for me? I'll try to pray. But when the heart is touched, the heart prays. And when the heart prays, the whole universe responds. All profound miracles happen when the heart needs help. It's like the whole life swoops in immediately. So grace and miracles are all byproducts of the heart asking. That's why one of the most beautiful things about life is that when the mind can't go any further, it goes into a state of helplessness. It just can't go any further, and it lets go. And that letting go, the heart is there with communication to life automatically. Nothing you can do. It's an automatic happening. And life naturally responds with the miracle. When the mind can't go any further, it allows for grace to step in. So things to understand is, whatever relationship you have at any moment with life, as long as it's authentic in that moment to you, it is absolutely the correct relationship. So if you need to be very angry or hurt towards God in life, or communicate your anger and hurt towards the infinite, if it's authentic to you, it is the correct relationship. The problem we have is we think we have to be a certain way. But the truth of life is, being authentically where you're at any moment is the proper communication. So it'll be very natural for moments you'll be in love with whatever the divine is for you. And there'll be other moments where that connection is not there. All of it is actually perfect. But the one thing I can say, at least for certain for me, is that when my heart speaks, when my heart feels a need, that itself is prayer. And very naturally, life always responds. And as I acknowledge that and see that, it allows my mind to have more and more confidence in that process. It allows my mind to let go further and further and know life is infinitely taking care of me. So our journey this week is learning to relate to and connect with this personal divine. It's learning to have complete freedom, whether the divine has a form or no form, whether it has a name or no name, whether you want it to be a figure of light or no figure at all. But it's learning that it is impossible for it not to be listening. Understanding that it cannot judge you on any level. And understanding that there's not even the slightest bit of separateness between you and eternity. And the great gift of you being that in form and having a mind, which is the opposite, having the sense of mind, is now you can relate. And that relationship can take on any form and is very, very profound. So we're going to do a process where we're going to go further and further of being in touch with and relating in whatever way we want. And we're going to start learning to start going into a state, an awakened state, where we start really feeling the presence of higher energies. Because if you want to know the secret of the saints and sages, was that in sacredness, in gratitude, in, you could say, the sense of invocation, the whole heart opens up, the whole spiritual energies go up, and you start going into these profound states of cosmic consciousness or God realization. So we're going to start now, and moving forward for us the course, of doing a certain technique to allow for that to start happening more and more. And there's no expectation of what experience you should have. It is just the understanding of opening the heart and raising the body's energies, so your heart can move into a very prominent place of experiencing the present moment without resistance, with a sense of deep sacredness. So does this all make sense? And does it resonate with what I was speaking today? Cool. So let us just take a break, maybe like 3 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll start the journey. I'll wait till a couple more people are back. Just give me 1 second. So what I want to share before we start our process is an understanding of this kind of process. What was discovered a long time ago with yogis was the relationship of the activity of the mind with the breath itself. So if you look at humanity's state of stress they're in, you can see that they breathe very shallow and very fast in the upper chest. That kind of breath is completely representative of the activity of the mind. So when the mind is reeling, you'll just notice a short, like pampering breath. That's the state of pretty much all of us when we're unconscious. Then comes what we've learned so far, which is conscious breathing. It's called the pranic breath, but it's basically the belly inflates like a balloon. You breathe to the top of the throat. You exhale naturally, but just as long as you breathe in. That's a functional breath, but conscious. We'll notice the mind's still active, but it's greatly slowed. You can function in life, etc. Now, then the yogis discovered something else. They discovered on the inhalation and mostly on the exhalation, when there's a hold, when the breath starts slowing, there's a natural tendency to stop breathing for a couple of seconds. It can go much longer in meditation, obviously not while you're driving a car. And in that hold, when the breath really silences down, when you're exhaling, you hold, the mind seems to shut off. This, you could say, is the first stages of a term called samadhi. There's many stages to samadhi, and it needs to happen on its own. It just needs to take place. It all makes sense when it starts happening. But this stage we can talk about, and this stage you can do, and it leads to the next stages. So this aspect, which we're going to be focusing on, is that we're going to allow ourselves to exhale, and if it comes natural to you, to hold. You can hold for as long as you want, and you do not have to hold at all. I don't want any lawsuits saying that I told you to stop breathing or something. I want you to learn to acknowledge, if it's true for you, how the mind comes to a ceasing halt during these holds, which brings up a very big question. And that silence, when the mind ceases because of the breath hold, you have to see how you're still there. You have to see in this silence, you are right there. The sense of beingness and seeing hasn't gone away at all. In fact, it's you in your fullest. In that silence, you really acknowledge that you are that which is silently watching. And the more and more you get used to that space, it becomes very natural to bring in the slow breath and the hold into even your conscious breathing. That's why throughout the day, I find myself exhaling very, very slowly and actually not breathing for sometimes up to a minute, 30 seconds, just naturally throughout the day, and having a very deep experience of oneness of all of life. As I'm sitting with my family, as I'm driving the car, as I'm doing anything, it happens naturally. When my mind's overactive, it's very, very simple to know how to fix that, just to go back into a deeper breath. And the deeper it goes of breathing, the more natural it is actually to slow the exhalation further and further, and holding naturally happens. So I'm not saying to do this all the time. I want to just show you this window, this space of the infinite, because we're going to be focusing on having an intimate personal relationship with the divine in our hearts. But I think it's so important to also know what lies right after that, which is no relationship because you and it are one. So the mind's relationship ends and the sheer experiential relationship is what is left. So we're going to go through an exercise where we're going to have this experience. And my suggestion is explore this as best you can. And after we have this experience, we're then going to go a little bit further in the process. So let us close our eyes. Let us sit upright. Move into a deep, slow breath. Keep your palms face up. You do not have to do this, but we're going to be doing breath of fire. If you wish not to do breath of fire, just maintain deep, slow breathing. But let us start our breath of fire at a slow speed. Go faster. Go faster. Go as fast as you can. Just give it all you got. Exhale fully. Hold your breath. Focus on the crown of the head. Inhale as deep as you can. Hold your breath. Focus on the crown of the head. Exhale. 2 more times. Inhale as deep as you can. Hold your breath, crown the head. Exhale. Last time. Inhale as deep as you can. Hold your breath, crown the head. Exhale. Bring your whole awareness into your heart. Breathe very deeply in and out of the heart, allowing your exhalation to be twice as long. Every exhalation, soften in the heart and extend the exhalation longer and longer. And if it comes naturally, just allow yourself to hold your breath for a little bit of time and experience the vast silent beingness which you are. So now, as you slowly inhale, I want you to feel sacredness. Think of your divine. Connect and invoke your divine as you're inhaling. And as you very slowly exhale and hold, I want you to just soak in the presence, the silent presence of the oneness with your divine. Stay in this space as long as you want. And we'll see you tomorrow on Telegram. Namaste.